At any point seen this guide? Before the breakup of Pangaea, the only supercontinent on Earth, 200 million years ago, Earth looked like this. What would happen if, one day, the continents merged into a single, enormous landmass, allowing you to walk from North America to Africa? Which nation would become your new neighbor? Would this result in global natural disasters? How much time would this brand new Pangaea last? Did you know that the ground beneath you is moving right now? This is because the tectonic plates that make up the Earth's crust are where all 7 continents are located. At the same rate that your fingernails grow, these plates are floating on molten rock. It may seem slow, but over hundreds of millions of years, it adds up. Our continents have undergone numerous appearance shifts over the course of the planet's 4.5 billion year history, sometimes merging in violent collisions and other times breaking up. They are currently slowly making their way toward another collision. What if one day they suddenly accelerated and struck a supercontinent once more? Would it shock you to find yourself at the Mexican border when you awoke? Earth would have been a step counter's paradise 270 million years ago. People who now plan their days around routes that best boost their walking stats on their preferred exercise app would have had the opportunity to hike across a huge continent that covered the entire landmass of our planet. At the end of the Paleozoic era, the puzzle pieces that make up the continents we know today were fused together. Since the early 1900s, that pole-to-pole chunk of rock has been known as Pangaea, which means all of Earth in Greek. What would happen if we increased the current rate at which the planet's tectonic plates travel and pull the continents back together? If another supercontinent were to form, what would happen? The original theory that Earth was made up of a single landmass at some point in its history can be credited to German meteorologist Alfred Wegener. Wegener presented his hypothesis in The Origin of Continents and Oceans, which was published in 1912, that plate tectonics and continental drift were very real and very responsible for the formation of Pangaea. You wouldn't see the world the same way you do now. The price of a flight from Australia to Asia would never be lower if the plates collided in the same direction as they are currently traveling. The Atlantic Ocean would no longer separate the two continents because Australia would collide with Japan, Korea, and China. Additionally, if you really enjoy walking, you could walk from sunny Australia to Antarctica, the coldest continent in the world. North America would find Western Africa. Namibian lions might be roaming Central Park when New Yorkers wake up. Africa's northern region would collide with Europe. On the edge of the tectonic plates, this would result in the formation of a brand new Himalayan mountain range. Do you think camels would like spending a cold day on a snowy hill? South America would move east, pushing Argentina and Brazil into Antarctica and South Africa, respectively. Amasia, a large continent, would be formed if North America and Asia merged. It's possible that Canadians should brush up on their Russian. The top of the planet would become this continent, and it would then begin to sag toward the equator. South America would move forward in this scenario, crashing Ecuador into Florida. Despite the fact that some of these changes sound fun, there would also be some really bad news. Along with Western Europe and Africa, the eastern side of the Americas would become a seismic risk zone. In addition, the eruptions of newly formed volcanoes would destroy these regions. Green inclines of the Appalachians would become Goliath snow-covered mountains regurgitating debris and magma. Because rain clouds would lose the majority of their moisture before reaching too far inland, this new Pangaea would primarily be hot and arid. The equator would serve as the center of the supercontinent. Because not all species can withstand hot temperatures, the diversity of wildlife would decrease. However, this reunion would not last forever, just like the most recent continental mashup. Well, less than 50 million years. A lot of lava and gas would come out of volcanic eruptions. When devastating earthquakes are added to the mix, these perilous regions begin to separate. The supercontinent would eventually separate into smaller continents as a result of hot currents below it. In the event that lining Australia seems to be something cool to you, misfortune, you won't see this occurrence anytime soon. However, you can always imagine the world as it would be if the enormous continental pieces of the puzzle all came together. Another supercontinent will form if the planet is left alone for 300 million years. It was already given the name Pangaea Ultima by geologists. Would you give it a name?